What is the approximate distance between these 2 points? We're going to use the distance formula off of our formula sheet. D equals square root of x minus 1 quantity squared plus y2 minus y1 parentheses quantity squared. We're going to use that formula off the formula sheet and type some numbers into our calculator to get this distance between these 2 points that are given. Start by copying my formula. X2 minus x1 squared plus y2 minus y1 squared. I will use x1 and y1 and x2 and y2, the points that are given. 11 minus a negative 7 turns into 11 plus 7 squared. Negative 5 minus 2 parentheses squared. I'll use my calculator to add and square those numbers. I have the square root of 373. And the square root of 373 is approximately 19.31. So we will choose B for the approximate distance using your formula chart and your calculator. Problem number 2. What coordinates of point C will make this triangle the isosceles? If you have an isosceles triangle, you have usually 2 sides congruent. Well, we're given that point A is at the origin, and most of the time when we're working with an isosceles triangle in geometry, we typically take and draw in the altitude. Let's just see what would happen if we draw in the altitude. If I draw in a perpendicular to the base, it actually hits at the midpoint of that base. We want to know the coordinates of point C. We know that A is at the origin. We know that this is at the midpoint. So we want to figure out how far it would be to point C. Well, let's write the coordinates of this midpoint. It would be x, because it's the same as this point B, comma 0. So if I want to find out the coordinates for point C, I know it's twice as far. We'll go ahead and double this x value, and I'll say that the coordinates are 2 times whatever x is, comma 0. Now, one of the things that you can do, even if you're not quite sure what the answer is, we can narrow our choices, and we can really eliminate all of the choices except D, because we know that point C has to be on the x-axis, and all points that are on the x-axis have a 0 for a y coordinate. And it's the only choice in the answers that even has a 0.